Ministerstwa Obrony.
Dear colleagues, we start our working day, and I'm inviting to the microphone Colonel Viktoria Kushnir from the Ministry of Defense, and then we will have Colonel Gutsulyak via Skype from ATO zone. Good morning, dear colleagues. I'm happy to see you on our press briefing. First Deputy Minister of Defense, Mr. Dmytro, participated in the round table on public discussion about the military doctrine of Ukraine, the strategy of the military security of Ukraine, and the concept for the security and defense sector development in Ukraine. This document set the strategy for the sector security and defense sector development and the role of each enforcement agency in the defense sector. In the new version of the military doctrine, the trends for the political and military developments around Ukraine are predicted. The strategy partnership between Ukraine and NATO as a factor of strengthening of defense is described, and the enemies of Ukraine are defined. Also, the role of information and psychological operations is discussed. Deputy Minister of Ukraine on European integration, Igor Dolgov, in Kiev, had a meeting with the Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of Sweden to Ukraine, Mr. Andreasen von Baccarat. The sides have discussed the issue of future events devoted to training of the armed forces, and have scheduled the work of Swedish instructors for medical military instructors of Ukraine on emergency Medicare delivery. Besides that, the Swedish party is ready to provide first aid kits for our servicemen. The minister, the deputy minister of Ukraine, Yuri Gusev, has met with the representatives of NATO in Ukraine and described the reforms in armed forces of Ukraine. Next week, Igor Dolgov will visit Brussels to participate in the first sitting of the Commission on association between EU and ES. During the last week, the Commission of the Ministry of Defense on awarding the status of ATO participant has issued around 1,400 certificates of the combat activities participant to the servicemen. As of now, 41,585 servicemen have received this status. These days, the President has signed a decree about changes to the encouraging measures, and this allowed the Minister of Ukraine to award servicemen and some other people. Due to this, the Minister of Defense has submitted to the presidential administration submission for awarding 24 volunteers from Crimea volunteer battalion. Besides that, they have submitted 20 servicemen of the 24 attack battalion of the armed forces of Ukraine, more known as IDAR volunteer battalion. And there are award of the heroes of Ukraine was awarded to 17 ATO participants, unfortunately some of them post-mortal. For this service order was awarded to 2 servicemen. Bogdan Khmelnytsky order to 866 ATO participants, for order for the courage to 2500. Danila Galitsky award to 66, and medal to the defender of motherland to more than 3,000 ATO participants. Today in the Ministry of Defense, and General Staff will award 27 servicemen and staff of the armed forces of Ukraine who are winners in the European Games this year, which lasted from June 12th till June 28th in Baku. Ukrainian sportsmen from armed forces has won 16 medals, including 7 golden, 4 silver, and 5 bronze medals. Today at 2 p.m. In Kiev there will be the presentation of photo exhibition showing ATO heroes and the conference for peace and unity of Ukraine. There will be Dynamo Football Club veterans, the Ukrainian pop music stars, and football club Maestro participating in the press conference. We invite mass media representatives to this event. The Ministry of Defense continues to conclude contracts for all sorts of supplies to the military units deployed in the hostility area. And during this week, the Minister of Defense has executed the contracts for supplies of fuel and oils amounting into 632 million hryvnia. Besides that, the Minister of Defense has contracted 7 additional contracts for supplies of foodstuffs to the army. The suppliers have carried out supplies for the amount of more than 1 billion hryvnia. As of today, that's all, and now I would like to give the floor to Dmytro Gutsulyak, who will inform you on the situation in the hostility area. Good morning, Dmytro, can you hear us? Would you please update us on the situation in the hostility area? The situation in the ATO area remains stably tense and is controlled by Ukrainian servicemen. As for the amounts of the enemies which stay in the non-controlled area, the ATO General Staff informs that there are around 8,000 Russian troops, which has 512 armored machinery, 147 artillery guns, 190 tanks, 83 MLRS systems, and 4 .U systems. The illegal band formations amounts to 32,000 people, having 368 tanks, more than 940 armored vehicles, 375 artillery units. The militants do not stop their provocations and shell our positions and carry out active subversive and reconnaissance activities. And today's morning there happened 4 combat meetings. On July 9th, near Stanitsa Luganska, Ukrainian servicemen have repelled an attempt to the subversive and reconnaissance group to attack our positions. In 10 p.m. yesterday, near Krymske, there was an attack of upon Ukrainian positions of another group. They were also prevented from crossing the line. Today at 2 p.m. near Lugansk, the ATO forces have revealed another attack of subversive and reconnaissance group. Militants continue to move military technique, military machinery, arms, and service and militants very close to the contact line. They prepared to provocations near Donetsk and Lugansk. The ATO leadership, leadership of Ukrainian forces knows about these movements. Also, the ATO staff knows that in Donbass, the representatives of the enforcement agencies from Russian federations liquidate non-controlled Kazakh formations of LNR. We do not exclude that these events will be used to shape the controlling sectors in DNR. We also do not exclude an attempt to destabilize the situation in Lugansk, Debaltseve, Donetsk, Mariinka, and then Mariupol, around Mariupol. In Severodonetsk, we have registered some decrease in activities of the militants. Probably this is due to the work OSCE mission near Pervomaisk. The ATO forces are ready to do everything possible to prevent provocations and stop aggression. We every day observe dozens of shellings of Ukrainian positions. Thus, the shelling was experienced in Krymske, Stanitsa Luganska, Піски, Авдіївка, Опитне, Мар'їнка, Верхньоторецьке, Водяне, Луганське, Майорське, Бахчев, Широкіне. And the ATO forces are deployed beyond the borders of these settlements and to prevent the lives of local residents. As of today's morning, the militants more than 180 times shelled ATO positions, and 46 times they used the weapons, which is prohibited by Minsk agreements. The Russian terrorist troops tries to find weak weak places in our defense, and thus they used 21 drones. Also 3 drones were shelled down yesterday at 9 p.m. near Lugansk. In general, as ATO staff informs, the situation during last 24 hours became more disturbing, and from 6 p.m. till midnight yesterday, during alone all the contact line pro-Russian militants almost 40 times shelled Ukrainian positions, 70 times they used the prohibited weapons prohibited by Minsk agreements. One of whom humanitarian convoys arrived from Russian Federation to Donetsk, the shellings became more often. And today, on July 10th, at midnight, the pro-Russian mercenaries restarted shelling from 120mm mortars and small arms our positions near Pisk. Despite support of Russia delivered to illegal band formations in occupied territory of Ukraine, the situation in ATO zone is fully controlled by Ukrainian servicemen. Defenders of Ukraine act conscientiously and along all the contact line.